Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Sunday Messages on a Wednesday. We are talking about service today. The idea of service, being of service. This is a conversation that I see come up sometimes, and I get so annoyed by it. And I had someone ask me during the mental mold workshop that I did in Money Magic back in January. So if you're in Money Magic, you have access to that. I was asked what my thoughts are on having to tie everything back to service as it relates to money. Like, if I'm going to make money, then I need to tie it back to service, blah, blah, blah. I have thoughts on that. And in general, the idea of service annoys me. And I'll explain why in a minute, why it's just like, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't think it's worth focusing on in the way that some people want to focus on it. But whatever, we'll get into that. Quick housekeeping. The Magician Bundle is, I've decided that I'm going to extend it through Sunday. So you can buy it through Sunday at 11:59 p.m., I think is when it expires. So if you want to grab that, it's at a fire sale discount. Okay, so I'm giving a $600 discount off of that bundle. It's ridiculous. And so if you want it, it has Dom. That's all about personal power and how your energetics influence the world around you, how it influences what you evoke from people in your life. And so that one is great for just navigating relationships and understanding the energetics of that. The second one is Fabric of the Universe. Fabric of the Universe is a fan favorite, and I also made it more, I brought more of my science background forward in that masterclass, and so that one's a really great conversation. It's about emotions, it's about the quantum field, it's about energetics, it's about how things go from energy to materialization. It's a really fun one. So that one is available as well. And then there's also the White Rabbit. The White Rabbit was from my season of really wanting to go deep around the concept of time. So how to capitalize on time, making time work for you, shifting your relationship and perception of time, all of that good stuff is in the White Rabbit. So if you want all of those, it's at a heavily discounted price. If you want one of those, you can buy them individually. They're just not discounted. They'll be at full price if you buy them individually. And yeah, now through Sunday, get it while it's hot. And anything else. If you know someone who needs to hear this conversation, who would benefit from this conversation, who this conversation would serve, then go ahead and send it to them, and I'm sure they'll appreciate it. Okay, now you all know how I feel about definitions. Let me pull up the definition of service. Okay. The work performed by one that serves, help, use, benefit, contribution to the welfare of others, disposal for use, the act of serving, a helpful act, useful labor that does not produce a tangible commodity. Okay. So this is where the definition of this irritates me. Okay. So when I hear people talking about this, and most of the time it's in a business context, they say, if you want to have a thriving business, if you want to make money doing business, then you need to come back to service. And to me, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Because in my opinion, if service is the bedrock of business, if you are not serving, if you don't have something that serves others, and this could be in the form of entertainment, it could be in the form of art, it could be in the form of commentary, it could be in the form of a physical product, it could be in the form of anything. It's like, in terms of Service, there's really no limit to what serves others. There are so many things, there's so many inventions, there's so much music and art and stuff that exists that is of service. And to me, that is a non-negotiable. So when you say be of service, it's like, okay, what does that even help? Because if you're, whatever you're making or whatever you're doing or whatever type of contribution that you're giving, if it doesn't serve, then more than likely it's taking away. If it doesn't add to the experience, then it's taking away more than likely. So to me, I'm so confused when people keep talking about service, when I'm like, if you're not already serving, you won't even have a business. You're not even going to have a career. If you work for a company and you are not serving or contributing to the company in some capacity, your ass is getting canned. And then someone will replace you. If your business doesn't serve your market in whatever capacity, if it doesn't contribute, if it doesn't add to people's lives, you're not going to have a business. Let's even go with what people are worried about. Like, let's say you are just money hungry. You do not care about other people at all. You're just in it for the cash. You want cash right now. You will do whatever it takes in order to get money. You think that people can't feel that they can't taste that it doesn't feel like a cologne that you're drowning in? Really, you think you can have that attitude and not have commission breath? Seriously? So to me, I'm like, why are people worried about service when you have to be of service if you're doing any type of work at all? And the market will decide. If you are not good at what you do, you're not serving the market, people find out that you do terrible work, that it's extremely overrated, that you're just in it for the cash, your business is going to collapse. It's not that complicated. If you are not contributing to people's lives, your whatever is not going to make it. So I don't consider it to be worthwhile to even discuss service, because to me, it's like, if I cannot effectively help people, then I would have failed years ago. I wouldn't have had any clients. People would not have enjoyed. If my tarot reading sucked, if I was bad at it, if they weren't helping people, if they weren't uplifting people, then my YouTube channel would have failed years and years ago, and I would not have grown at all. That's just a natural consequence of not serving. So if you look at it in a binary lens of service or disservice, you can only exist in the service category and have a lasting experience that is going to feel good for you and everyone involved. That's not even a negotiable thing. That's not a negotiable element. And the things that do harm to people and are of extreme disservice, truth always comes out. You know what I mean? If you're wronging people, if you're damaging people, or if you're a big corporation and your products are killing people or doing damage or something of the sort, it's like, it will come out. Even if it takes a long time, it will come to light. People are going to catch on. So I don't think that there's, I just don't get this hyperfixation on service, because to me, I'm like, this is inevitable. You can't get around it. And if you don't do that one thing, if you don't stay on the service side of the spectrum, you're going out of business. You're going to get fired. You are going to fail. Like there's no other way to go about it. And here's the thing, even if you are not doing any intense labor, if you're in alignment and connected with God and just beaming and radiating this divine loving energy that is of service, right? When you're bringing that aura around with you and uplifting people's day, that's of service. When you're in the flow and you're writing books or you're making music or you're working on a project, that's of service. When you're having a great time at work and you're chatting with coworkers, I feel like that's of service. When the Kardashians are making reality TV, is that not of service? Is entertainment not of service? Think about how many people have their livelihoods connected to the commentary about the Kardashians. So people have full-blown careers that revolve around pop culture. And if it were not for people who are producing reality television and are participating in reality television, a whole branch of people would not even have jobs. Certain publications would not even exist. When the writer's strike happens, like what is happening right now, right? We have all of this fallout happening in Hollywood. So the writers and actors are all on strike. Who's going to fill in all those gaps for entertainment? Reality TV is. TikTok entertainers, things like this, what you're watching and listening to right now. What I'm doing right now, having this conversation, is of service. Whether it's for entertainment, whether you enjoy these conversations, whether you just want to hear the sound of my voice, whatever, in whatever context you're listening to this, in some capacity, it's serving. And so I don't think it's this difficult thing that you're going to need to do mental gymnastics in order to get your mind and understanding behind the idea of, yeah, service is like, duh. It's not even worth talking about. That's my opinion. That's why I get so annoyed. And then the other thing is, if someone were to come up to me and say, you need to be of service, and there was this air of obligated giving, is what I'll call it, I would have a very nasty reaction to that. I think I've shared this before on my podcast. I know if you follow me on Instagram, you definitely know this about me. I do not have good reactions to being told that I have to share. I have so much emotional baggage around sharing and having things taken from me. I still, to this day, have issues with food aggression. I know that sounds insane, but like someone taking something off my plate will not go well. If someone is trying to take something or force me to do or give something, I have a terrible reaction to it. And of course, it's like, this is from my personal baggage. This is from some trauma that I experienced early on, blah, 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 from repeated ways that I was treated as a child. And so if you try to tell me you need to give more, you're not doing enough, you need to give more, and you're like constantly on this service crusade, at a certain point, people who are constantly being bombarded with that are going to fall into self-neglect if they don't have good boundaries. Because constantly being of service to others and not considering yourself fails to be service. You've now slipped into martyrdom. And who likes martyrs? Name a martyr that you love. I mean, I guess could you count Jesus? Could you count Mother Teresa? But really, when you're looking at this archetype on a regular basis in real life, like the the mother that acts like a martyr. We all know that one, who's constantly depriving herself and putting herself last, and then blaming you and shaming you and telling you how awful you are because of all the things that she's done for you and all of the things that she's given. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes a bitter, resentful woman who's been neglecting herself for years and is now guilt tripping everyone around her because she's neglecting herself. If you fall too far into the service category, you become a martyr. And it's not sexy and it's not magnetic, and people are not going to want to be around you. So there's a point in which it's not actually helpful. Where this can be helpful, I'll give you the example for where this does actually have some utility, is let's say you're a total novice. Let's say you don't actually have good skills yet. Well, coming strictly from a service standpoint, like I want to practice helping people, I understand that some people mean it like that, even though that's still self-serving. So if I say, you know what, I need, I'm developing a new skill and I need to practice. Can I practice for free with you? I get benefit from that, even if I'm doing it for free. So once again, we have more issues with this idea of service. If I make a list, let's say I'm looking at a money goal and I make a big list of all of the reasons why it's good for people around me and the people in my life for me to have that financial experience. Well, that serves me. Me making an altruistic list of what all the people around me will receive so that I can get my energy behind a financial goal. By the way, I would never do that. That is not how I get my energy behind a financial goal. But if I were to take that approach, it would still serve me. There's no getting around this selfishness thing, this selfish orientation. There's no getting around it. And so this is why being of service is literally the bare minimum that needs to be done if you're to exist in any industry. And on top of that, it can be a problem if you have someone who's already super codependent, who has difficulty setting boundaries, who has a tendency to self-neglect. Okay, someone who falls into that category, who is being told to serve even more, that is a recipe for them to fall into martyrdom and resentment and frustration. And so I'm trying to recall some of the things about service. Okay, let's go back to my other point about doing free work. Being of service in the sense that I am going to give my skills for free so that I can practice or build momentum around my craft or get some feedback or testimonials or whatever. You can say it's a symbiotic relationship, but under no circumstances is that strictly of service. When you're thinking and contemplating about like all of the wonderful things that are going to happen when people experience your product or when they hear your music or whatever, that is for you. That is for you energetically. So I think that is my biggest point of irritation. And the other thing that was coming up when I was thinking about this and contemplating it was, if you are the type of person who needs to constantly justify your desires through altruism, there's something deeper worth looking at. Because to me, I'm like, if it needs to be this self-sacrificial thing, like, oh, look at all the good that I'm doing for other people. Look at me. I'm serving others. Something's up. If you can't just get behind the idea that your desires are sacred, that you get to want what you want, you get to create what you want, and there's all of this complicated mental gymnastics that you have to do, and you have to shoehorn all of your desires into the service box, something's up with that would be worth exploring. I can't unpack all of the possible scenarios, but I would say that maybe in the short term, if you need to do that, fine. But I think there's a little more around codependency, around needing to control other people's perceptions of you. There's something brewing under that may not be the most functional. Here's the other thing that I notice about service. There are some people who start with service, like, I want to help people, and that's actually driving me in the beginning. And that's fine. But again, once you do that long enough, if you're not caring for yourself, or if you're not fulfilling all of your desires, including the non-altruistic, the materialistic and superficial desires that you have, there will be a rebound effect where you do want to start giving yourself those things. And then you, I don't know, depending on who you are and how you are, you might come up against some guilt and things like that, or needing to navigate giving yourself permission to want what you want unconditionally. Okay, so that's something that happens for people. But then the opposite is also true, where let's say initially you're like, yes, I'm here for the money. I know that what I'm doing is already solid. So again, this would not include the people who are like coming from this really dark, wounded place of just wanting to exploit people for cash. Okay, those people are going to die off anyway. They don't even matter. It's not worth paying attention to. But if you're motivated by the potential for you to do something that you love and make a lot of money in the process. Okay. So if you're in that zone, and maybe in the beginning, you're really behind the idea of material things first. Well, eventually the material stuff is going to lose its luster. It's not going to be bright and shiny forever. Like once you have, a couple cars and a house and some bags, it's like, well, like what else is there? And I find that then there's a rebound effect of wanting to bring other people, invite other people into the fold of your own creations. And so then the idea of serving others or doing things for other people is actually what starts to get shiny. Whereas the cars and the handbags or whatever it is that you fancy, it's like there's only so much shit you can buy. Let's be honest, before it just does not, like, it's not even going to stimulate you. It's not going to give you any type of satisfaction or any hit emotionally or neurologically. And so that will also die out. So I never worry when people are motivated by material possessions, because at a certain point in your growth with whatever it is that you're doing, your financial growth, you will want to explore other ways of using resources and creating and going into projects with people. You will want to do other things naturally. So I never feel like any of this needs to be forced. I think there are some people who are constantly pressing this idea of serve, focus on your audience, focus on serving the people. And to me, that does not motivate me. That does not inspire me. That does not sound fun to me. I do not like that advice, because it's like, that's the whole jig. That's the whole thing that we're doing here. I don't need to focus on that anymore. That's a natural extension of what happens already. So that is all that I have for you today. I think those are all my thoughts. Do I have any final thoughts on service? Please do not fall into the trap of thinking that you constantly have to filter your desires or your goals through the lens of service. If it feels good to you, do it. Sometimes I will look at how different things shifting in my life will impact the people around me. But again, that's a personal practice for me to get my energy behind something. It is not because I need to be good. I need to be liked. I need to make sure that everyone thinks of me a certain way. That's dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional as hell. Okay. So if you need to do that to get your energy behind something, fantastic. Understand that you can want what you want unconditionally. It doesn't matter. You don't have to run it through the filter of service if you don't want to. Only do it if it feels good. If you feel like you're running yourself ragged, you need to up your selfishness game. Take good care of yourself. Nobody wants a burnt out, nagging martyr who's guilt tripping everyone around them. Okay. Nobody likes that. So if you overserve, you're going to get annoying real fast and people are going to get really turned off by you. I am so serious. Depriving yourself is not sexy. So just figure out where you are. Trust what motivates you. Know that there's a natural homeostasis to service. It's not something that needs to be forced. You don't need to desire a Mercedes and try to shoehorn that into being of service for others, okay? There's no need. You don't need to. You just get to have fun imagining the car. So those are my final thoughts. I hope this has been helpful. Maybe you loved it. Maybe you hated it. Whatever. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed this content. So that is all for now. And don't forget the Magician Bundle expires Sunday night. That is a wrap. And I will talk to you all next time. Have a good one, everybody.